What is going on, everybody? My name is Dylan Nossman here with Calf Kick Sports, and I am joined by a very special guest for the second time now, actually. Greg Punch First Foster, undefeated prospect out of the MMA lab, coming up on another fight, actually. But first of all, how are you feeling? Obviously, I talked to you after your last win at Baroka. Great first round submission and quick turnaround. How the preparation's going, my man?
It's good, man. Kind of took a little bit of time off, enjoyed a week of eating good and all that, letting the body just kind of heal up from a camp. I always try to do like a deload week a little bit, have some fun, eat a little bit, let the body kind of chill out, neutralize itself. But had a good opportunity, so just kind of hop back into it and just kind of rinse and repeat, man. Get back into camp, got the routine, got the system in place, and just get after it. But as everybody always says, it's going good. So.
Absolutely, 100%. So I spoke to you right after that fight at Baroka 2. Obviously, fantastic submission against Desmond Monabot. You're now, or you spoke to me and said you really wanted to stay active this year. So, less than 2 months, right back in the cage at Southwest Brawl. How are you feeling about the quick turnaround? And, even in that short time, how do you feel like or where do you feel like you've improved the most in that time?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to make this year very active, and just be as active as I can, and build my record up this year. That was a key goal that I'm focusing on. So 7-8 week, 2 fights, 2 weight cuts, it's a good amount of time. It's definitely work. It's not easy, but I knew what I was getting into, and I'm up for the task for this year. But in regards to improvements, I'm always improving. I'm super analytical in this game, man. I don't cut any corners at all. I do a lot of film research. So every fight I have, I look at it like I lost, and even though my last performance was pretty flawless, I don't think there's much you could pick up. I picked up a few things, MMA, it's one little inch goes the other way and you're looking at it totally different, so I always go back and look at what I did good, what I did bad, and then I put an improvement thing that I can work on. So there's still things that I improved on from the last fight. And I do that every fight, and then it's a point of emphasis that I take into the gym to drill and, create these new habits and maybe tweak some things that need to be tweaked in my game. So that's always something I'm doing every fight.
Absolutely. Well, that's the beautiful thing about combat sports is there's infinite things to learn. You're never going to get, not find a new way to do something or a new perspective or, even find new things about your opponent. So having that mindset, I'm sure is great for just, keeping that focus forward.
No.
Yeah. So a little career retrospective. You obviously, for those who don't know, fought Sean O'Malley in your amateur debut way back when up in Montana. You've since obviously, moved your career to Arizona. You train at the MMA lab, one of the top camps in the nation right now. Talk to me a little bit about that switch. What made you view Arizona as a, opportune destination for MMA, and how's that, really affected your career in a positive way?
Well, technically he wasn't my amateur debut. I had one amateur fight before that.
My apologies.
But it was in Arizona. No, you're good. And it was in Arizona. So I originally trained out in Tucson, Arizona for a long time.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
Originally from California, moved to Tucson when I was a kid, and then got into MMA out there. Went amateur out there, had an amateur career, and then ended up fighting him in Phoenix, Arizona. And then it was just a good fight, man. It was a good experience, fighting someone from a tough gym. And, the MMA lab's always been a mecca, and it's one of the best gyms in the country for the past 18 years. So I always studied the lab. I studied the coaches. I studied the fighters, and then, fighting him, cornering against other guys. So it was always something, researching the lab, researching the fighters, trying to see what the best in the world were doing. So we had a good fight, made me follow his career and was inspired by his career and stuff like that. And, and I think it was just a point in my life where I was at, I was ready for a change. I was ready for that next chapter and force myself to be uncomfortable and really go chase something. And that was, why I left Tucson, left my old gym, left my old job, quit, came up here, no job, trying to start a business and chase the dreams of, being a professional and competing at a high level. So it just really sparked that, and it's been inspiring along the way. And here we are, so we're about 5 years into this journey. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I feel, and you spoke about this, MMA lab been a mecca for 18 years. Arizona, especially recently, has turned into such a hotbed of MMA talent. But I've noticed, just as a fighter and a media person around here, we don't have a lot of the professional promotions to support that talent. What's your kind of opinion on just the Arizona scene in general and that kind of balance between having promotions to support that talent, but also having so many high level gyms and have to kind of travel outside the state a lot to fight?
Yeah, I was talking about this with a couple of buddies. Like I got into MMA in 2010, and in 2010, that's when MMA was getting pretty popular. But the shows were ridiculous from like 2010 to 15. I think there was WFF, there was Rough, there was Cage Aggression Series, Rage in the Cage was here, Cage Rage was here. Like we had shows every weekend in Tucson and Phoenix, and guys were so active, amateurs, pro. And then truly, I'd really say since about 2018, 19, it's really slowed down. WFF, less shows with Rough. There's not as many smaller shows. And as a promoter, it's a hard business. There's not a lot of money promoting and dealing with fighters. And, fighters are kind of wacky fuckers themselves, and getting them to show up and do what they need to do and whatnot. So I get from a promoting aspect that it's not easy to do. And I can see why a lot of shows have kind of tailored off. But for us as competitors now, it's kind of unfortunate because we love to fight in our backyard and just have the opportunities, and fights fall out all the time. So we really only have Rough that comes here in LFA once or twice a year, so it's kind of unfortunate at this state of the game that we have to travel out as much as we do, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, the shirt I'm wearing right here, UFL, they've started to host a couple shows here as well. I think you had a couple teammates in that card, which is good. But yeah, other than LFA, like you said, 2-3 times a year maybe, and then Rough, here and there, it's not a lot of opportunities. But I really feel like we have the community to support it, though. I mean, you see the celebrity theater get sold out, and you see LFA when it comes to town. It's just, my point is, I hope we have those opportunities moving forward for bigger pro promotions to see this as an opportune area for to host fights, because we got so many good fighters out here.
100%. I mean, Phoenix has been the mecca. People always look at other states and whatnot, but if you take it to early 2000s with who you look came out of Arizona, ASU wrestlers, whatnot, and Power, ACS, Lab, there's been a lot of mainstays that have came out of here who have been pioneers of the sport. So we definitely got the location, we definitely got the venues, we definitely got the fighters. So we just need these promoters to plop their show here. We'll kick some ass.
100%. Absolutely. So obviously we spoke about kind of, you staying active, and now 5-0, hopefully moving to 6-0 in a couple weeks. You've probably got 100%. Probably got your eyes on the Contender Series coming up. The roster started to get announced this week. You got a teammate on Ho making his second appearance, and that 6-0 mark seems to be where guys are getting their opportunities. So is that kind of where your mind's at, or do you have kind of a different plan for the rest of the year?
One fight at a time. Famous Benson Henderson always said, "Win your next fight." And I've heard from a lot of other good fighters, you're only as good as your last fight. So my goal is locked in on this fight, winning this fight. But for the future goals, 6-0, if that gets it done, get me in the contenders or a short notice, I'd like that too. And if I need one more, sometimes 7-0 is the number 2. It's never can I say fast and hard set rule that it's this and this. This MMA games, it's a puzzle piece, and you're always putting the puzzle, and each board's different, each person's different, right? So, but I think 6-0, 7-0. I think I'll have a pretty good resume built up. I mean, I haven't lost a fight since 2014. I'll be on a 9 or 10 fight win streak. Add a couple more finishes in there, coming from a good gym. So I think we'll have a pretty good resume built up in regards to that. So that's the plan. And if we got to do 6-0, we got to do 7-0, go from there. But just keep winning and, end the year on a bang. But we'll definitely get in there sooner or later.
No doubt about it. Obviously, one of my favorite things about combat sports is the opportunities that it affords you. I'm sure, you've gotten to do a lot of awesome things aside from you just fighting the cage. I know you've cornered Clayton Carpenter multiple occasions. I'm sure you've had some other awesome opportunities to travel. So, what's probably your favorite thing that's happened, through your career that isn't you necessarily stepping in the cage yourself?
Cornered Clay a couple times, but even way back when, old kind of veteran of the sport, George Root, he fought in WEC. He fought on the Ultimate Fighter, the Junior Browning Ultimate Fighter, and then he fought for 17, 18 times under Zuffa. I cornered him a couple times in the UFC when I was like 20, 21. We actually went to Japan when I was like 22 and fought at the Saitama Arena and stuff. So those were good experiences, man. Yeah, it was cool. Like I got a lot of experience when I was young in the game, cornering and seeing it from the other aspect and seeing the production of the UFC, 10 years ago, so that was cool to have that in my back pocket. But again, I think the biggest thing that MMA has done for me is just it's put me in a position to meet a lot of great people and develop a lot of great relationships. And all the people that I have in my life that are like brothers and family. I don't have a real big family, so my brothers that I've trained with, that I've seen 5-6 days out of a week for a 10-year span, I think that's the biggest thing that I appreciate from MMA. And I wouldn't have all the great people in my life if it wasn't for MMA, and if it wasn't even for personal training that I do when I'm teaching martial arts and stuff, and meeting a bunch of great people. So I think it's just been my driver to meet a bunch of great people.
Yeah, it's really such a great community, and there's so many wonderful people in this sport to meet. Real quick, I'm going to repeat that first question just about, because I fucked up with Francis Marshall and Clayton Carpenter. I don't know why my brain did that. So let me just repeat that. You don't have to answer. I'm just going to edit that in before. So,
cool.
All right. Awesome. So this leads well into my next question. You spoke there about your personal training business, coaching martial arts. You have Punch First Fitness. I see you obviously training a ton of clients with striking and other things, outside of your own training yourself. What does it mean for you to obviously, be able to teach other people martial arts, and how do you feel that can impact, even a non-competitor learning how to defend themselves and, get that confidence striking and, doing combat sports?
I think it's awesome, man. I think martial arts has a place for everybody. When I first moved out here, I was teaching special needs kids and stuff with, motor skill deficiencies and things like that, so
wow, that's incredible.
I feel it has a place for everybody, and it's just it's a driver. It's your car, and it's a driver for you to become a better person and, develop good core characteristics that can mold you as a person. And yeah, man, just self-defense, I think that builds confidence, and everybody that I train, they're not trying to be fighters or anything like that, but I do show them good technique, and I make sure that they're technically sound and learning good things. So if they did have to use it, it's going to work a little bit more than not having good technique under your belt. So, super thankful. And, I teach a lot of other different stuff too, fitness, generalized fitness, but I always mix in, boxing, kickboxing and stuff like that. But just super thankful. I never, when I got into MMA, I didn't think I was going to, be a professional fighter or, be ever coaching or whatnot and stuff like that. So it was all things that I didn't think would happen in my brain initially going into it. And then it kind of manifested it. So I never thought I'd be where I'm at, 10 years later, 12 years later, in regards to being a professional fighter, training at the lab, owning a business and stuff like that. So just super, super thankful to be where I'm at right now. And again, just thankful for all the great relationships that I've developed and came across on this journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a really special thing to be able to teach and see people, grow through martial arts, and, obviously see yourself grow as well. So, all right. Last but not least, I want to hear your prediction against Richard Jennings next Saturday at Southwest Brawl. And then also, obviously, it takes a village. It's never just one man job. Do you have anybody you'd like to thank, coaches, sparring partners, teammates, anybody like that?
Yeah, in regards to the fight, just gonna go in there and get a finish, man. I always look to strike first, punch first, right? So I'm gonna go in there and get a timing, feel. If we can knock them out, we'll knock them out. If we need to wrestle them, we'll wrestle them. That's the beauty of mixed martial arts, and you can take the fight wherever you want it to go. And sometimes it, also goes where you don't think it's gonna go, but then you become an opportunist in those situations. Yeah. So I feel like I'm an opportunist, and I jump on situations in the cage. So wherever it goes, we'll be ready, and I'm confident. And I respect anybody that gets in there, but I just think I'm on a different level. And so we'll go in and get a finish. In regards to thanking people and support wise, man, I got a great support system, at the MMA lab. I'm thankful for all my training partners. We all have a good brotherhood. Some specifics who are always in my corner going with me. Mike Hamill, he's great. He's a great fighter, and a great friend to me. Jose Delgado, he's my guy. Alexis Martinez, Anthony Cruz, those are some of my, my main guys that I'm always bouncing ideas off, and we're always correlating ideas and training together and stuff like that. So, John Crouch, he's the head conductor of the whole place.
Legend.
Wouldn't be running. Benson Henderson always has an impact on me as well, so, but there's so many guys I can list. That's just a few, but just some of the ones that come to mind initially that I know have been a big impact on my journey, done a lot for me. So super thankful for them all. And I try to do my best to let them know that I'm thankful for them and try to give back as much as I can.
Yep. 100%. I'm sure we can go all day with the people who've helped you in your career, because like I said, it's never just a one-man job. Last thing, where could the people watch this fight? Is there any streaming announced yet? Is it going to be updated on their Instagram or anything?
I don't know if it's going to be streamed or whatnot. It is a little bit of a smaller show out there. Nice show though. It's actually ran pretty smooth. It is a little bit of a smaller show out in New Mexico. So I think I might know something. Maybe the week of I'll post something, but just follow the Instagram. The lab will post it. I'll post it, and we're getting the dub. So just be ready for the victory photo and some victory food after.
Yeah, And
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm sure you're going to move to 6-0. And thanks again for taking the time today to talk to me, Greg.
Thanks, brother. Have a good day.